OCA here. I decided to upload this video to share a unique room/speaker correction technique which I have recently come up with. The complete process takes half an hour or less and is quite powerful and consistently achieves improved results in terms of spectral balance, clarity and attack. Everything will be done with the free Room EQ wizard, aka REW. So how is this method different? Well, for starters, we will not be using any EQ filters for the correction, none. Instead, we will invert the speaker response over target curve and then create convolution files from that inverted response. This is technically the most accurate way to correct for dips and peaks in a speaker's room response. If you believe your system does not need digital correction, simple answer is you're wrong. Even the highest end gear with speakers placed perfectly will have a minimum of 20 dB difference between its peaks and dips in the audible frequency range due to room modes, reflections, dissymmetry and what have you. I am planning to upload a video explaining the facts around that soon. If you have tried digital correction in the past and believe although DRC may fix some problems, it usually degrades the overall sound somewhat, and then you are in the right place. To keep this video at a reasonable length, I'm not gonna go into details like speaker measurement basics, the theory behind in-depth explanations of why we do what we do, etc. But I prepared a very detailed guide explaining all that, and you can find the link in the comment section of this video to that guide. I'll be using my actual speakers measurements left and right in this tutorial. These are 4 megabytes long, like the longest sweep measurements. It gives the highest signal to noise ratio, and they are done at the volume level which I usually listen to my system, which is quite important. Human perceive bass response differently at different volume levels. So for the target curve to work for you in this correction, you have to take the measurements at the level you listen to your music most frequently. Other than that, I use a mini DSP UMIC 2 USB microphone at central listening position for the measurements. Once we have the measurements left and right, we first want to get rid of these reflections here to see the actual frequency response in high frequencies. The way to do that is using impulse response windows and add frequency dependent windowing. I'll use 35 cycles winds. This is the limit in REW, which keeps the high frequencies as detailed as possible. Dirac Live uses, I think, 7, like that, and Odyssey uses 9, I think. But just to ease the correction for them, smooth it down, but we don't need that since we are not going to be trying to equalize any filter for these. Also, I'm not going to be using any kind of smoothing. These are our curves we are going to be working on for left and right speaker. First thing we do is time align them. We go to overlays, impulse response, and magnify it. This is the left and right impulse responses together. There are easier ways to magnify quickly, but this is quick enough. As you see, when we magnify enough, we start to see a difference between the left and right speakers. Here, the right speaker, highlighted in yellow now, is arriving earlier than the left speaker. So the right speaker needs to move back, opposite the listening position. And the left speaker needs to come forward. Why? Because the time 0 is here. These are the impulse peaks. My impulse peaks are inverted, meaning they are pointing downwards. Yours could very well be upwards, but important point is that the larger area, the larger part is the impulse peak. This is not the impulse peak. And it should be at time 0 for all the calculations we'll do in this correction method. My difference is very small because my speakers are already quite well placed, because I am obsessive compulsive. And then you do a distance measurement here, keyboard control, and while you're pressing it, you use the right mouse click, and without releasing them, move with your mouse until point 0, like this axis here. And then this is the time difference for the right speaker. It's minus 4.295 I think nanoseconds. This is like 1 millionth of a second, and 0.001 meters, which is like 1 millimeter, or 0.06 inches, and it's minus. You take a note of this for your right speaker and do the same for the left, and we will be fixing this and bring them all together for the correction. Correction itself will not fix for that, so you have to either move your speakers by this much or dial these numbers in your convolution engine. Every engine has some sort of delay property where you can delay or bring forward the speakers. Minus 4.295 nanoseconds. Then we go to REW window, go to impulse while right speaker is selected. Controls, offset T equals 0. This is the most accurate timing alignment tool in REW. There are many. So it was minus, but we had to dial it down, and you will have to divide it by 1000, so 0.004295. Press tab key, and so this is as accurate as you can do, 0.0043. And while the overlays window is still on site, which is not easy on a full HD screen, click apply and watch this right speaker move backwards to time 0, hopefully. Yep, see, it's now perfectly on 0. And now we do the same for the left speaker. Measure it first, it's even less, so the difference is like 0.872 nanoseconds, and this time it's negative 0.000872. It rounds it down to this. Apply, and voila. Now both speakers are on top of each other. They're time aligned. Only for calculation purposes, you have to do this alignment with your speakers or in your convolution engine. I mean, there is a convolution wave file that works, taps the impulses to correct the sound and equalize frequencies. And then there is a separate speaker setup part in every engine where you dial for volume differences, gain, and timing differences. I use Rune, and it has a different submenu for each of these. Equalizer APO has similar. Every convolution engine, DSP engine has these. So we are done with that. They are now time aligned. Now we need to align the volumes. SPL should be aligned for a certain region, from 0 Hertz all the way to 24K Hertz, but how meaningful that is, and why do you need to align SPL? Well, for starters, the sound image should be precisely central. Like when somebody is singing, he should be singing right in the middle of the two speakers in the sound space. So to provide the central image, the speaker's volumes at these frequencies, like especially the vocals, it should be equal. Otherwise your soundstage will be panned to the left or right, which is annoying. So we need to align the SPL over the band which contains all the vocals. The entire range of men's and women's voices remain between about 65 Hertz for male with a very deep bass voice to the highest note of a female coloratura soprano, which is around 1280 Hertz. Although a female high-pitched scream can go quite a bit higher to around 3000 Hertz. So ideally we should be aligning SPL between 65 Hertz up to like 4000 Hertz. REW has an alignment tool here, align SPL, and use average SPL of measurements, alignment center 500 Hertz, alignment span 3 octaves. That means divide 500 by 2 3 times, so 250, 125 and 62.5, which is where we want to be, the lower limit, and then multiply it by 2 3 times, so 1000, 2000 and 4000. So when we do this alignment, we're going to be aligning the SPL of left and right speakers from 62.5 Hertz up to 4000 Hertz, which will cover all the vocals and all the locatable bass, etc. However, if we align this now, we will not be seeing how much alignment left speaker required and how much alignment right speaker required. So Before we do that, we have to create copies of both measurements. We go to measurement actions, response copy for left and also for right. Now we have left copy and right copy. We untick left and right, so only the copies are ticked. And then align SPL, and then 500 Hz, 3 use average SPL measurements. Okay, as you see, they moved a little. In your case, probably they're gonna a bit more than that. And once they did the move, now you untick R copy and tick L, so you have L and L copy on your screen. My difference is so little, not good for illustrative purposes really, but still there's a difference. And then you go measurement actions. There is an SPL offset here. For L, you want to bring L on top of L copy, and you want to check how much SPL offset is required. Well, looks like minus 0.2 dB. So my left speaker needs to be lowered in volume by 0.2 dB. Add offset to data, and now the left is volume aligned. Now do the same for the right speaker. Untick lefts and tick rights. Select right speaker, and it will be exactly the opposite by the same amount. This is how REW alignment works. So 0.2 dB, we have to increase the volume of the right speaker. So my left and right speaker has around 0.4 dB of volume difference in the frequency range that we are interested in. So I'm aligning them now. I add offset to data. So my now left and right speakers are volume aligned, and we no longer need the copies. However, the convolution engines will not fix for this volume. This is also something you have to separately change, either by the balance knob in your amplifier or by using the gain offsets in your convolution engine. Now we have time and volume aligned left and right speaker. It's time to now get their average. We use RMS average. It's the same as here, the average responses. Vector average also takes into consideration the phase values in the frequency band, but it has some issues for unwrapped phase values way outside the range, etc. John, the author of REW, is working on it, different kind of averaging technique, but it's not ready yet. RMS average is good enough. It just simply takes the average of the SPL of two speakers, like so. It is exactly in between for every frequency throughout the range. So once we have this, let's call that LR. Once we have that, we go to EQ for equalization tab. We get rid of the waterfall graph, so we have more space on the screen. Okay, before we do that, we have to upload a target curve to REW. It is done from preferences here, house curve, and rows. Very weird error message. Anyway, this is Harman target curve. You will find the link for this curve down in the comment section. It's prepared by Harman Kardon over years of technical studies. It's the only curve that you will ever need. It has nothing to do with the house. It's basically all about the way we perceive volume of different frequencies. The human only hear every frequency in the correct volume at 83 decibels. So anything below or above, you hear certain frequencies lower than they are or higher than they are. Purpose of Harman target curve is to compensate for this volume differences in our hearing. It's not real. So it has nothing to do with your house or your taste or whatnot. If you take your measurements in the level you always listen to your music, then this curve will work perfectly for you. Meaning, here is the curve loaded now, as you see, something like this. There is an increase in bass response from 200 Hz downwards, and there is a little downward slope in the high frequencies. This means that only when we equalize for that, we hear all the frequencies in the same volume level. That is what it is for. Anyway, Target settings, full range speaker, and here for low frequency cutoff, you have to enter a ballpark value for your speakers. You must have an idea about it. Mine, I know, is around 34-35 Hertz. It's not very important. And the slope of its bass response, as you see, mine looks like it's 24. And then you calculate target level from response. REW calculated it to be 72.3 decibels. And is it like 36? Yeah, something like that is a perfect fit of my speaker. Every speaker responds to the house curve. And you cannot change the calculated level by changing this. So this is only to find the actual shape that you will need to invert the response over soon. Now this is interesting. We generate measurement from target shape. Click that. And that's all we'll do in EQ. Nothing else. Done with EQ forever. As you see, we now have a target LR curve on our SPL screen. Now what we do is to invert each speaker over this curve. How we do that? We go to Controls, Trace Arithmetic, and we need to divide target curve by the left speaker response. However, because of fast Fourier transform calculations, we have to do this in two steps. First, we have to divide left speaker by the target curve, use no regularization whatsoever, and generate that. And then once we have that division, we take the inverse of it by using 1 over A. B here is not important, it just takes the inverse of the A. So we inverse the division. For this one we use 8% regularization. You can change this value, but this works quite well. It means 5 dB correction max at every frequency point. Target level should be at 3.6 and exclude notches ticked. So generate, and now we can delete A over B, and we can call this L inverted. As you see, this is 0 dB, and here we have this is 0 dB, and here we have the, for example, the part in excess of the target curve here, as you see, is negatively here in the exact shape all through the frequency band. If I get rid of all that, see, this is the left speaker, this is the target curve, and all these differences here are reflected here. We do the same for the right speaker. So right speaker divided by target with 0 regularization, generate, and then take this division, inverse it with 8% regularization, generate, and then delete A over B and call this R inverted. So we have now R inverted. I misspelled this here. Left and right speaker over the Harman target curve. Well, these are correction responses, in fact. However, they are not minimum phase. And if they are not minimum phase, if you convolve them with your speakers like this, you will get massive ringing and really very different frequency response than you intended to. So how we create, I mean, normally, for example, if we had used equalizer bands with REW filters, it would create lots of EQ filters and they would all be minimum phase. It would try to imitate the fluctuations here to an extent, etc. But they will be minimum phase, meaning they don't change the phase that much, minimum possible, so that they don't cause delays, etc. Anyway, to make this convolution file minimum phase, what we do is go to measurement actions, select L inverted and minimum phase version. Click that. It's useful to replicate data outside range. The measurement range, by the way, is from 0 to 24,000 Hertz. This is also quite important for accuracy of calculations. REW works in 48,000 Hertz and 16 bits. That's why you should use 48,000 sampling rate throughout. When you use 48,000 sample rate, the Nyquist theorem says the highest you can measure is 24,000, half of the sampling rate. And you should use the full range so that fast Fourier transforms during vector calculations give accurate results. They don't need to zero pad, etc., which can cause lots of problems. So replicate data outside range is not very necessary in my case because my measurement is from 0 to 24,000 exactly. Make minimum phase copy. Now we have very similar in terms of, as you see, the same frequency response with the L inverted and the minimum phase version. However, this is the phase response of the minimum phase version. This is the 0 axis, 0 degree phase, and it is around 0 everywhere. Non-minimum phase version, look at the phase, it's everywhere. This is the difference. And we do the same for R inverted, measurement actions, minimum phase version, replicate data, make minimum phase copy. And that's it. This and this are our correction convolution files for the left and right speaker. All you need to do at this stage is export them as, for convenience, as a stereo file which contains left and right together. You can also save them separately as mono, and make a 48 kilohertz copy is usually enough, but you can make other frequencies as well. I prefer to use only the base sampling rates and for example the Rune to do the upsampling if necessary, because it has state-of-the-art sampling algorithms. But you're really free. REW also does quite a decent job in upsampling them. So you create somewhere in, let me find our, call this correction. Left and right. As you see, what was done is it created two wave files, one with 44.1 kilohertz sampling rate and the other with 48,000 hertz sampling rate. Now these can be used in any DSP engine. JRiver requires a config text file, for example. EQ, APO, you can directly just load them in. And for Rune, you have to zip them together and then direct the Rune convolver into the zip file, like this, and that's all. Now, if you want to see how your speakers will sound with these correction files afterwards, let's just do a quick math. Original left speaker response convolved by our correction, which is L inverted and P A times B. This vector multiplication is the same thing as inducing this correction to the left speaker. Generate. This is the target curve, and this is our corrected left speaker response. So even the dips have improved a little bit. This was the original one, as you can see. This is for the left speaker. Let's call that left corrected. I mean, these are not necessary steps for the correction. The correction is already finished, but I'm just trying to show you what the results will be like, and your actual response will be very similar to that within like half a dB. So this is not just as in maths ideal on the screen, but doesn't work the same. It works exactly as intended. So let's do the same for R, how it will end up after correction. Call this R corrected. So this is R corrected. This is the original R. Let me clean the screen a little bit. So this is R corrected, and if you now take the average of L and R corrected, RMS average, compare it with the original L and R, and they are both the same green color. This regularly happens with REW. Let's make one of them red. Okay, it turned out to be pink. This is the target curve, perfect curve, and the green response is the original response of our speakers, and this is how it will sound after correction. As you see, we got rid of all the peaks here throughout the curve. Let's check some other response. This is the step response. It's quite important. It shows also the clarity or any ringing, pre-ringing, etc. in the responses. Clean it up a bit. This was the original left and right. For example, original left, and this is left corrected. And this is the original right speaker step response, and this is the corrected right speaker. Or group delay, also another important thing. This is the left speaker original, this is 0, and this is the corrected. Clarity, left versus left corrected. So in terms of clarity, there is a major improvement. And the phase response also should have been smoothed a little bit. As you see, look, all the fluctuations in phase all around has been corrected by a minimum phase, but in the right way. That's what all these filters did. Further improvements are possible to this correction in the phase of the response. That will be done with a free tool called Rephase. I have a video on that, and in the guide I have very detailed explanation of how to continue the correction with the phase after this stage, but I won't go into that for this video. It's already long enough now. So that's it, guys. Make sure you also check the text, and good luck and enjoy your music. Bye.